Hello everybody. In this video we're going to proceed doing our view grocery list app, and we will finish just the JavaScript section or the script section on the top of the application view. So let's actually get started. One of the things how view actually works is through reference or reactive elements that we can utilize through our main site. Those are beneficial, especially when we actually want to have the components or the values then somehow react to those changes that need to happen. And let me show you a little example right here. So let's do, for example, and in order to make that element, we need to import. And that's the beauty of here that we can use the import reference from view. And there's a lot of elements that we can actually get, but for now, let's just get that one. And let's do cons. Let's actually call this new grocery equal an empty reference. The way that it works is we use it to as a function and then the value side. And we can attach arrays, we can attach boolean, we can attach strings, whatever data we actually need, and cross it like this. Perfect. And then we can actually tie those values to particular areas. Let's say, for example, that the element is let's do apple, and let's change this to be in order to reference those elements that came from our script setup section is with a double curly bracket, and we just call the variable or the const in this case, and we can right there just render it. It is changes that got changes, but not only that, we can actually tie it or in a two-way binding to input boxes. For example, this one, and we can actually do that through the view model element. So this will allow us to tie this reference that we have, and it will be a two-way binding. What it means is it will get all the current value that it already has is going to be injected from here all the way to here. But at the same time, this element will allow to this one to change, and that will inject back and change the value. So if I save this, we can see that the value is set up here. So in the list item, we're injecting the value. In the input, we're injecting, but at the same time, whenever this element is going to be updated, that will reflect and be here. And that will allow us to do something like this. Hmm, of course, it didn't work. Let me see what happened here. Okay, I think just just refresh it a little bit. I didn't do actually anything. So let me do. So you can see the way that I actually changed this through the B model. I update the reference, and this one because we injected right here, we can actually see the light value right there. We can actually attach elements, and I can see, for example, when this list item is beyond, or when something happens, we can actually add. Whenever we click it, we can do something, and we can put JavaScript thing here. So let's do something like new grocery equal. Now we need to do single breakers, and we can do something like click it. I don't know, just to have something there. So I can be changing this. And when I click this, I will look at the event listener click, and I will execute this, and it will be click it. So because everything is already tied and we have those reference, we can see that movement get here and there, and it's actually really cool. Something that we can do also we can actually have, what else we can do here? Not only this, we can actually do something like add grocery, and that one can actually be a function that we can define here. And we can do const add grocery equal, and we do something about that. For now, let me just change the value. Let's say, let's call it, and let's just make it to be the new adding new grocery. And this changes a little bit, and I will show you what I'm doing. So when I push it, when I click it, I will add the grocery. We'll call the add grocery function that will execute the value of my new grocery to be changed. Now, when I did it directly, I didn't specify the value element here. That is because how view works is when we have the reference, values are injected by default. But because I'm referring the element inside the script tag, I actually need to specify in the reference that I need to see the value. So in this case, if I click it, I did new grocery. If I change this, everything is tied, and I click it again, I did new grocery. Because this is the way that actually should be working. Actually, we can call this remove. And whenever we submit it, and we can actually have the type submit, and the ID we don't need it actually. Let's put add click. We can tie it to the form. Add submit equal and add grocery. So we'll say that whenever we submit this one, we need to add the grocery by itself. Let me save it. Let me refresh it. Let me click it, and it's not doing it. Let me see what's happening. I probably need to restart. Well, I think it's actually working, but I need to do a submit.prevent in order to do what we did in JavaScript in order to prevent the way that um, view uses is through that element. So if I do it now, probably no. Well, we'll see what actually didn't work. I don't want to take that much time now. Let me put it right here. We can do a click, prevent the default value at the oh, because I'm adding it to here. Oh, so I'm clicking the wrong element default. So let me just put it back. There you go. So if I change this and click it here, there you go. Add a new grocery. That's what it's supposed to be. Also, if I do enter, the enter will execute the new grocery because the form will get submitted, and the submitted actually will prevent that the grocery element. That's how this actually works. So let's start tidying things up here. So let's do const delete grocery, and we need delete any grocery. Deleting that one, and actually need to be tied through here. And this will be adding, and this will be deleting. And we can see that the event is get used and is being affected across the board. In order to make this work the way it's supposed to, let's remove the reference for the new grocery. Let's make it empty for now. And I will add my a new reference in an array for groceries. And whenever I add a new grocery, we need to see if the value exists, if new grocery value exists, I will can tell grocery value push it, and then I delete it. This is what it's doing. Is just to start adding element the value in the groceries array. Remember, we need to identify it through the value. So we're just pushing that value, and then the current new grocery or the input box is just get emptied out. Is what we're telling you. In order to see it, probably will be faster if we put just at the end. Let's do a simple string, and let's do curly bracket and put the groceries there. So we can actually see what we're doing. So if we do 1, enter, 2, 3, 4, X, and doesn't matter. And you see the value of the groceries, you just get increased. Every new one just being added, and we just reference the complete them. This, of course, is a whole it's an array, so we can actually do array thingies through that. But we can actually see how this is working and how it is being implemented. Whenever we add something, it doesn't matter if it's through the button or with a simple enter. Those are just important in getting there. So what we need to do now is to this list item actually to do something to be dynamically created whenever we add a new element to the array. Well, before we proceed, I want to use right now the nano ID. I just want to give it, instead of giving you the element by itself, I want to create the ID for every element. And it's really simple to use. We just need to open the terminal, do npm install nano ID, as simple as that. And we can just we import it, and we can put it right here, import the nano ID, and we can create it through this. So what I can do here is I will push a new object now instead of just a value. I will do ID will be my nano ID, and the name of the grocery will be the value. That will allow us to do something a little bit better, like I don't know, let's say tomato. There you go. I don't know if I spell it correctly or not, but it's there. And we just created an array of, and this is the ID, this is the name, and I can add my tortilla, my ribeye, I don't know, pizza, whatever. And we can see the different IDs have been generated, and the array is actually working. Now we need to inject this. We push it through here the way that we need it. So there's a really cool, and this is the cool one of the coolest part that I see in Vue.js is the v-for format. So we can actually do a for element here. And then we can do something about that for element. And let's do something similar to for each. That will say for every grocery in groceries, I will do pretty much dissect every element for the groceries, the plural, the array, and I will get every element as a grocery, and this will repeat it in quantity of time depending how many we have. So I just save that. We can see we have 4 elements because we have 4 different groceries. If I add the fifth one, and yes, we need to change that because right now is tied to the new grocery element. But for now, if we add the fifth one, we now have 5 elements, and array is through 5. The cool thing is through here is that every element that is get repeated is just represent one of the objects. That means that we can change this to define just through the grocery. But We can do grocery.name. Boom. Simple as that. And that will allow us to remove this section that we're using just to review it and another, you know, and that just got added right there at the end. As simple as that. It's a little easy markup with a before. We can loop through our JavaScript object here in the template and we can actually print the name. It's actually printed. Oh, we can do this. So that's really good. Now we can actually make this call and make it a little more complex. And we can send, now that we have that every grocery have an ID, we can send that grocery dot ID. We can do that for function accept the ID. And let's do for now something really quick. Alert. Let's do deleting ID. Let's say that. So let's do 1, 2, 3. If I click this one, this is the ID, and we can see whenever we click a different one with a different ID. So we're able to tie it to that ID element now. And because we're able to tie it to that ID element, we can do something in the array. So using a simple JavaScript, well, probably not that simple, but what I want to do is I need to find that particular ID, right? I need to find where that particular ID is. So I will do a simple mapping. We'll call this const remove index. I need to see where my array is. And actually probably array did it for me. Something like that. For my groceries values, let me save it. I need to find the index where my grocery ID is equal, and it's a 3 equals element, to the ID that I'm passing here. So just find it where is it. And after I find that, actually let's do a simple alert for that remove index, so we can actually see it. So let's do 1, 2, 3. If we click this one should give a 0. This one should give it a 2, actually. Because it's actually given us where on the array that particular element is. So now that we have the index that we need to remove, we can use another properties called splice. The splice, what it do is we can actually take something like this, and it's really simple. The splice, what it does is remove element from array, and it will transform the array, and will tell them when to start and how many elements need to be changed. So we're telling to the groceries value, and groceries value is the array. We need to remove where the index start, and we just remove one item. So can do 1, 2, 3. So now if I click 2, 2 should disappear, and 1 and 3 should stay there. We do the same with 1, and do the same with 3. Perfect. So we have that element there. And I think we actually have almost everything. Now the only thing is the data is not persistent. Is that? I mean, if I refresh the page, I lose everything. That is where use storage is going to be needed. So in order to use view storage, let's go to the guy, get started. We just need to install it. The view is core. This is just a wrapper to be from on top of local storage. So it's really simple, but a lot easier to use it here. So we just install it and we can use it through here. Like simple as import it. And after we import it, we can say that instead of groceries reference will be use storage. And we call this element groceries. and the default value will be an empty array. Simple as that. We just save it, go through here, refresh it, and for my log, remember, oh, this actually, it should not be a, I'm not hiding the same value, so it should not be like that. It's actually, I need to give it the text, the key text. There you go. So you do apple, pizza, bread, press the page, my data persists. It doesn't get deleted anymore. So now we have the same functionality just with one line. But pizza, try to refresh, everything is still there. In order to add the flavor that we had before, we can just do the exactly same for the canvas confetti, and that's what we had in the previous video. npm install canvas confetti, right? And we can just use it when importing it, and to call it like this exactly when we delete it. And this is exactly the same page that we had before. So if I click bread, I probably need to refresh it. Click apples, boom. We have the confetti. I always get excited when I see that. I don't know why. Boom. The simple things, right? Well, we have everything there. As you see, and you have the whole logic with those libraries to view in less than 80 lines. Is what you can see before what we did it in development. Just the CSS file by itself was taking over 84. So here we have pretty much the HTML section, the script tag, and this is a lot smaller too. And using post CSS nested and it apply from Tailwind, we just reduce it in size really much. And now we're able to use the app. Now we can actually finish it and do something really cool about the reactivity that we just talked about. What I want to do is, after the title, I want to add another element, and I will say pending items. I don't know, I don't have, and I can do actually groceries dot length. First is, I see that pending items, we have 0 pending item, and actually let's put this after the form and before the list. Refresh it. I don't know why I didn't take it. So if I add something, again, apples, that got updated to. Let's do orange, red, tortillas, and I always put the same one. Sorry for that. Pizza, steak, I don't know, whatever. Every element that we added, this number get updated because we actually reference that one in the Lex property. And the reactivity view actually does that. So in order to make this in JavaScript, imagine do the calculation for yourself, and then you need to inject it, do a select statement, through document query selection, and then you need to inject the inner text, for example, or something like that. Here we just do the reference and we just forget about the rest. Like everything is already tied up. And we remove elements that just got updated automatically too. So at the end, this is Vue.js. It's a really simple way. It's a framework that facilitates you to do JavaScript application. Everything is created through a JavaScript file. Oh, actually, let me show you that. It's rendered that this particular way. So before we actually finish, let me open my terminal. Let me close this and let me open my Explorer here. So we can actually see what we have. We have this public folder, the source directory. There's something really cool called npm run, and we have a build element. So when we do build, what will happen is it will build the project for production. It will create a distribution folder. In that distribution folder, we have index.html, a CSS file, and a JavaScript file, all bundled together. And we can see that through here. We probably need to refresh this. Yes. So our distribution folder there, our index.html, and the assets are actually there. To see the content, the index is really similar to what we already had, right? Because we didn't do anything different. But on the asset side, we have the CSS file being created. We all the different elements from Tailwind that we use. Probably it's a little more than we actually supposed to use, but that's the cost of the framework. And the size is a little bit bigger, but the developer experience is a lot better. So that's pretty much the trade-off for using it like that. The index JavaScript file just got compiled to all this, and probably doesn't make sense. Let me just try to format a little bit just to see it, because it's minimized by default. So let me just try to so all the JavaScript function and that reactivity, how things actually work, it just got created to here. So all those functions that you can actually see. And the CSS file, and not that one, actually this one, is something really similar. Let me try to format it a little bit. There you go. So you see that the cleaning out the reset from that Tailwind uses is going to apply it, and at the end, just the different change of the element, just the classes that we actually use with the particular custom color that we implemented. And that just got created for you through JavaScript. And that's it. I really hope that you like it. In the next video, we'll show you how to set up the server and how to deploy your application. We want to deploy the static HTML, the original one, and we're going to deploy the new one, the Vue.js. And when we deploy them, we'll show you a little difference and how we can actually leverage your own server to host your own application. So I really hope that everybody liked it. If you have any question or any doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.